Empowering Success Navigators, brought to you by Empowering Business Inc. I'm Robyn Scobey, and I'm here today. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I can, Robyn. So my name is Goodman Anand. I'm the founder and creator of Goodman Lantern. I'm also a father and a husband. I really enjoy a couple of things. One is to have a work-life balance, but also to kind of really focus on how to grow opportunities for not only myself, but my entire team. A big mission of our company and myself is to empower women in technology and marketing. So the 70% of our team members are actually women. So it's a big part of what we do.
And how would you do that?
So many a times what happens is companies and individuals talk about empowerment. They talk about rights, but they never kind of put their money where their mouth is. And in our case, what we do is we make sure that we train, bring in women from across the globe, give them opportunities to work with some of the best customers. And we're also a remote first business and an AI first business as well. So what we do really is from day one, we allow people to have flexible working hours, to have flexibility in their work-life balance, to really allow them to learn and work with some of the most amazing companies in the world. And that only happens when you have a blueprint to have that mandate in your company from day one.
Absolutely, because women are, their mothers, they're busy, their wives. Having that flexibility is always a really good thing. Yeah.
It is indeed. And that's what I learned from my interviews with lots of women initially. When you start the business 8 years back, that was one of the most important requirements.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we started recording, you and I were talking a little bit about AI, and you had done a whole bunch of research and you'd started working on it long ago before AI actually became really popular in the last year. What are some of your biggest takeaways on that?
Yes, so 20 years back, I embarked on a PhD in AI. Back in the day, when people were asked what AI is, they thought it is the study of UFOs. So they didn't even know what AI was. It just sounded like sci-fi. Today, fast forward, we all sort of understand a little bit more. It's in the news, for example. AI is taking over the world, is what we have been told. So it is very impactful. It is something which we should be really thinking about. In fact, I've been traveling across the world. I've got some talks coming up across the Middle East, in across Asia, Europe, North America, Latin America. I'm just doing these talks in different places. And one thing I started is saying, I ask the business owners, hey, what is that you do for a living? And they tell me what they're doing. And I say, listen, in 3 to 5 years, each one of your businesses is going to be impacted massively. Perhaps you have the same business going, perhaps you don't. Maybe your job changes, maybe the team members you have they're going to have a different role. It's going to impact massively. And if we don't think about AI or AI first mindset today, potentially you won't have business tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that mindset is what is going to help us move beyond where we are today. And the analogy for that is thinking about what happened when we had the whole industrial revolution. People who were working in villages on farms, artisans, for example, many of them had to move on and move from their villages and comfort of their home to big factories in big cities. And that's just the way things evolve. And it's going to happen again with AI. So we need to be prepared for it, we need to have the right mindset for it, and be ready for this evolution or revolution as well.
Absolutely. So I've noticed a lot of people using AI to do their social media. Do you have any tips on how people, I see it all the time where it's like, oh, that is completely ChatGPT that made that post for you. And I know that's not what most small businesses and medium-sized businesses are really wanting to do. They don't want to be the same. They are different. They're unique. How do you still take that using the AI and implementing it successfully into your business?
Yeah. So I also own a content marketing business, so I understand content fairly well. And let's apply both the content side and the AI side, being different hats. So firstly, for short form content, which is maybe a short blog post or short social media post, AI can do a reasonable job. but it needs to understand your business, your values, your call to action, your competitors really well. Many times the prompts being put in are not precise enough. They're not detailed enough to give the background information. That's one. Number two, in almost every scenario, looking at the analogy of factories, for example, looking to build a new product using your machines, you need to have a good input. You need to have a good mold, for example, and then when you get the product out of the machine, you need to do a bit of quality assurance, QA, to make sure that it actually looks fine. When I was at university, I was working at a Parker pen factory, and my job was to go look at the pen and see if there are any marks or dents on it, and if it was a different tray. Similarly, every content produced using AI, the machine of AI, has to the right inputs, right, the right ingredients, and a quality assurance or a check at the end of it to make sure it's fine. Even if AI can do 80% of the work, which is very rare, it still needs that 20% expertise or expert quality assurance bit. Without that, we can't achieve the end goal. And that's going to happen for many years to come. It's far from being perfect at this stage. And there's a lot of nuances and emotion which goes into content which can't be replicated using AI today, or will be for many years to come.
Absolutely. So when you're talking about making sure your input is in correctly, what are some of your tips that you would say somebody needs to be able to put? What things do you need to put in to get the right input so you're getting a good final result?
Well, great question there, Robyn. Thank you. I would say there's a ton of stuff to look at, for example. The first thing here I would say is the more detail the input, the better it is. But then what do I mean? Many a times to kind of get a very good content piece out in the first instance, which is about 50% or even 40% there, you need to provide in some context like, for example, if it's for a company, what does the company do? Who are the customers? Who are the competitors? What's your unique angle? What's your call to action? What's your website? Why are you building this content in the first place? Where is it going to go? All these different bits and a few other things have to be answered to be able to build the right prompt. In fact, there are some prompt frameworks we use as well to make it better. But the thinking behind that is the more you can put in, the better it is. And just to kind of mention, now with the paid version of ChatGPT, which is built on OpenAI, and other tools like Anthropic's tool, uh, you can have up to about say half a Harry Potter book as a prompt to put in. So you can keep it in a lot of memory about what you're entering. And that's really good. The more you provide, the better it is. But also keep in mind that if you start to use that thread for further actions or further content creation, it will overwrite the input you had put in earlier. So
Okay.
the optimal amount is required at all times. And that is where the tricky part is. The tricky part is how do you manage the two together?
And I think that another big, really key takeaway is make sure you read it after. Like, don't expect it to come out being a complete project. You do need to take the time, read it, and hire those expertise.
Absolutely. And when it comes to enterprise level customers we work with, I can tell you from my experience that AI tools is not the answer. The complexity involved in a complex piece of article writing, long form content with multiple stakeholders, it's almost impossible to get it right. Even, it's great for researching, for example, and perhaps a great tool to do some of the proofreading or correction purposes, but the core of the work has to be done by a real human being. And that's going to stay around for many years to come. So for smaller clients, small projects, I would say you start with AI, it's a great tool. But when it comes to very complicated articles, complex content pieces, actually AI is not your best friend there. It's actually real human input. If you look at some of the experts talking in the space of, say, SEO or content writing, they often say that a human augmented by AI performs better almost always.
Right. And I'm finding a lot of our listeners and a lot of my clientele, we all really care about that personal interaction. And you're not going to get that if you just solely use AI all the time. Having that human being looking at it, reading it, understanding it, and making sure it's tailored to your needs. Because every business is a little bit different. Every business owner is a little bit different. But it is a really good starting point because through the pandemic, a lot of cash flow issues started with many small businesses. It's been a tough couple of years. I do see everything starting to get back on track to where it used to be completely now, but it's like that fine line of how much AI can you use? How much content do you need? And we have the world at our fingertips. I know me personally, I am constantly just grabbing my cell phone and Googling or looking at somebody's website. I'm not necessarily always making that human interaction to pick up the phone and call to find the best person or the best plumber, or the lawyers, or so having the correct content on your websites and on your social media, because that's another way everybody's. What are some of your tips that you would give to a small business owner that doesn't have the big funds to be able to hire a full content writer, but is starting off and just needs a little bit of start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say I completely agree with you there, Robyn, that AI is a great pal for research and some initial work. For most small business owners or SMEs, I would say it does a fairly good job to get majority of the content created. But the human touch is super important. The emotions, the feeling which you have when you read some content or see a video or see an image is still really important. As I'm sure you're aware, AI can now create videos, very short videos, can do voice recording, so you can actually do voiceovers, for example, using just AI voice. You can do image creation, the likes of Dolly and Midjourney, for instance. Again, there are tools like 11 Labs, for example, for voice. I mean, there's 2 different tools in the market today. All of them do a great job. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the real human interaction. And at the end of the day, when for most customers, the emotion which you get when you see a content is what they're going to feel. So get that right. And if you want to get that right using AI, mention that emotion as well as part of your input or your prompt, which you put into the AI, something better. Finally, the more we get using AI into our lives, the more we long to talk to people over the phone. I mean, a Zoom call, for example. That's just the nature of human beings. We're never going to lose that interactive element. So where there is a high touch point for human beings, that will become more expensive and more valued. For example, let's say people who are gym trainers, for example, people who do health training, for instance, that will be more valued. There will be robo doctors and robo nurses, but in person, doctors and nurses are going to be valued more. That's going to become more of a high value offering. So you to keep in mind the balance between AI and automation and human touch, because that's what's going to make our offerings more valuable. And the right balance is what going to help us make more money and avoid opportunities to perhaps lose cash or be less profitable.
Mhm. Excuse me. At the very beginning, you had said you really emphasize on your work personal life balance. And I think AI is able to help some business owners if used correctly and using the resources. I know for me personally, I do use a content writer because I can give you the information. I can't give the personal experience the same as somebody else that is good at articulating their words. I can do it once you're a client, I can do it at that point, but I'm not necessarily good at it early on in the relationship stage and trying to self-promote myself. Those are 2 different strengths, right? So when somebody's looking for a content writer, what would be something you would suggest for them to go and how to interview them, how to find the right fit for them?
Sure. Firstly, I would say the first thing is, what is the purpose of the content writer? Typically, there are two bits of things you can look at. One is thought leadership to help you as a business or business owner to be a thought leader in the space. And number two is visibility, typically through SEO or social media, for instance. The first thing you want to do is check that they really are doing that for themselves. Because if they aren't doing that for themselves, then something is wrong. For example, one of our big USPs is our ability to do SEO and thought leadership together. So if you Google telecom content writers or manufacturing content writers, we rank number one consistently. In many cases, we rank three times in the first page itself, like so we had three different times. And that shows that well, we understand how to do the SEO part. And similarly, when you look at other content writers, editors, they should also rank very well. Because if they don't, then they don't understand the art of how to rank well or to write content which can rank well. Number two is ability to understand and comprehend the subject matter itself. Many times we kind of look at, oh well, they can write English and they can write French, so they can do a good job for me. But subject matter expertise is super important as well to be able to articulate in a way that the people who understand the subject matter as clients can also comprehend. That is really important. And number three, this might be almost counterintuitive, or maybe perhaps going against what I just said earlier, is make it so simple that anybody can understand it. Many
Mhm.
a times we often feel that, oh, I'm writing about manufacturing or engineering, so it should be appealing only to engineers. But the reality is, many times it's read by CFOs, assistants, CEOs who have no idea of the subject matter, and they're just going to go and buy stuff from you because they're the ones who are buying in the company. You need to make it so simple that they understand as well. These three things really matter. I think if you can get these things out of the way, then you can have a discussion about further topics about how can they write, how they gel with you, how quickly they create content, for example, prices, etc.
Those are some really good tips. I never thought about the pre-work, right? Like making sure that just because you can write doesn't mean it's a good writing and it's who is it going to appeal to? Who are your clients? So you really need to know who your business is before you can go out and start looking for a content writer, trying to figure out how to work AI. You really need to know your fundamentals of your business before you can go any further.
100%. I mean, if you don't know who's a customer, why they buy from us, when do they buy from us, how do they buy from us, I don't think we can actually sell effectively. So these bits are required, and it takes time to understand these things. It doesn't happen overnight. Most businesses don't understand what they're doing in the first 2 years. They're trying to find their feet, and that's normal. That's absolutely fine.
Mhm. We kind of touched on it at the very beginning. You said you help women and empower women with technology. How do you do that, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, great question. So let me explain why I do this. So when I was a student studying sciences and engineering at school, we had 50-50, 50 women, 50% women, 50% men. Went to sort of senior studying and stuff, and then engineering we had two women and 99 men, something like that. So it was almost 1:100, 1:99. So 1% people, basically 1% women. And then I
It's
go to work
crazy.
in engineering and programming, no women whatsoever. And I have a daughter who's 3 years old. And I don't want her to come into an under society where she doesn't get the same opportunity. I think we should allow more women to get into the industry. And that's only going to happen if we promote women in technology and in marketing. So in my company, we write about content, and a lot of our clients are technology specialists. So we actually get more women writers on board. They can understand. And what happens with that is that the clients get a more neutral and genuine articles, content, white papers, videos from perspective of both men and women, and it's a very neutral tone as well. Plus, because we have seen this from our clients that they believe and they've seen that our work is phenomenal compared to some of the competitors, but also we take great care of our clients at all times. And that's down to our team who do a phenomenal job taking care of our clients, making sure that they are there for them when they need us most. So I feel this whole opportunity for women in technology is not being talked about enough. There could be more which could be done. And instead of just talking about it, my belief is that you should put that into action. And so for us, it's all about that integrity leads and excellence follows. And that's how we kind of run our business.
Absolutely. So what are some of the ways that we can help women and support them?
Well, in our company, a big part is flexibility. That's the most important thing is being flexible, understanding their needs, really giving them the opportunity to balance their work and life. As you mentioned earlier, not every woman will want to work full time or work, sort of long hours, for example. They need that we will juggle different things. Maybe they're studying at university and they have a job. Maybe they have a family, for example. When taking care of a loved one, for instance, they still want to work, have a exciting, uh, well-paying job, but still want the flexibility as well. And to match that in most cases is very, very difficult. So we give them the flexibility to work from anywhere. Almost all our jobs are remote. We look for experts, so women who are experts in different field can come in. We'll train them on bits which they don't understand really well. For example, they might be an expert in nuclear physics, for example, but don't understand physics or don't understand SEO really well. And we have people who can come and train them on SEO, how to write content, which is both neutral from the point of view of thought leadership and SEO. And that then amounts to a win-win for them because they've learned a new skill now. So the client as well, because the client now gets somebody who understands both sides of the content, which will help their content rise even further.
Right. I really love to hear it because so many people, like you said, say that they are empowering women. They are doing everything to help the women. And I'm like, but what? I love the flexibility and the training and just allowing them to run their busy households, however their house is being run. Because everybody's house is a little bit different. Everybody's business is a little bit different. And just making sure you understand the big picture and moving forward. Really enjoyed our conversation today. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we end?
Well, just on the same thought and mindset, I also wrote a book recently on AI. The complete proceeds of the book goes to a women charity in India to help promote women in India to rise and shine. So yeah, the book is called The AI Era, and it's really to help people understand what this AI thing is all about and how it can impact their lives. Hopefully, help them grow their opportunity in the coming years to come. And if they buy it, it's only about $1.50 from Amazon. The money goes to charity and for a great cause. So if you like to make a donation towards by buying a book, please to go find the book and do that.
And you said we can buy it on Amazon?
That's correct. Yes.
Perfect. I will make sure we put the link down in the little information session here, and so people can go and buy the book because that is phenomenal. Not only do you learn, but you're helping other women in another country, and that's phenomenal. Thank you.
It's as I say, put money where your mouth is, right? So we can do what we can do, and there's a little bit we can do to help. That's awesome as well, I believe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.